Yo, what's up? This is just my build showcase to show off my Ward Gladiator that I built for ChatSF. This character was mostly made just to be a zoomy mapper and uh, be able to just basically take my hands off the keyboard if I need to. And I wanted to use the buffed Ward and some tinctures as well, just to try them out this league. The core of this build relies on the Yinda's stand belt, and this just converts half of your evasion rating from your chest into ward. So you can see without it, my ward drops from... so I'm at 739 now, and with it, I'm at 2000. And this gives you a substantial amount of ward. The rest of my gear is just based on getting the faster restoration of ward effect, and this just makes it so it scales a little bit quicker. The buff this patch went from 4 seconds to 2 seconds baseline, and then I get a further 100% faster restoration, just to get it down to 1 second, and that's felt pretty comfortable. On top of that, we are, of course, a Gladiator with Lucky Block and a little bit of evasion, but not that much in comparison. And this is just to help the downtime whenever your ward does break. I found this works pretty well, and you almost never notice it breaking outside of really massive hits that you do not block. On top of that, I use a ward potion flask, and this is just to as soon as it breaks, it will restore it, assuming I take a savage hit. So it's a bit like a backup health pot. So I've essentially dropped the health pot completely, just because I've found I've not really needed it. And that's because we are also running a reasonable amount of leech. To sustain my tincture, I picked up a bunch of mana leech, and I just eternal blessing my my pride. And then with that, I have an entire mana bar to use to just sustain my tincture, and that's really all I've needed. The other benefit of this was also that I didn't have to fuck around with any mana reductions on my actual dual strike. So you can see it costs 59 mana, but when we're actually mapping, like, there is 0 mana problems. As for the tincture itself, I'm using this Might Blood Ironwood tincture. This is really nice for mapping. It essentially will help you clear the screen with a strike skill. Combine that with the bleed pops, you're going to be like zooming through these maps. You can swap it out on bosses for just like a single target type of tincture, so I use a rage one with a bit of crit multi. This does have a lot more mana burn. That I've rolled it this way because I find that you really want to burst a boss, not hit it for a sustained amount of time if you can. But this character isn't exactly a great bosser, I'll be honest. Probably with more investment it'll be fine, but I'm probably not going to put that much more into it. As for the actual damage type, it is a dual strike of MD dexterity, and it's just a crit version. We do have a bleed node, but this is mostly making use of the extra crit chance we get from both the mastery here as well as the top node here as well. Otherwise, it's just a dual wielding gladiator. You can drop gratuitous violence for the War of Attrition if you are really focused on bossing, but there are probably better builds to try and boss on. I am also making use of Weapon Master. I'm just using a dagger and a sword. This Paradoxa was pretty easy to pick up. I only picked it up for like a div, and it's like perfect stats for what you want. Just fizz damage, bleed on hit, and crit multi. Other than that, there's nothing too crazy going on offensively. There's probably better people to follow for actual damage. I just YOLO'd this, to be honest. Apart from that, let's just have a look at how it goes mapping. So when we're mapping, the only things you want to avoid is less chance of block and cannot leech. If you get cannot leech, your build is bricked, because you will not be able to sustain your tincture. Anyway, so this tier 17 we're going to run. It's not too spicy, I guess. So let's just have a quick run of it. So when you're mapping, you just need to make sure you're keeping your tincture on as much as you can. This one will mostly sustain itself because it's got a pretty low burn rate. And you just go through and you just hit stuff. I made this after my piano slammer, which I got a little sick of after a while. Just to be as mindless as possible. So you can see, even when I turn it off though, it clears okay, but the real strength is when we have it, and it will help clear the screen. You can see how much easier it actually becomes to clear when you sustain it. And with the amount of, like, a couple of mana leech nodes that we picked up, it becomes really easy to actually sustain it. You can see it's been running for a little while now. And it's still going, and as long as I keep hitting shit, it's basically fine. You might want to turn it off if in downtime, if you find yourself traveling, but it doesn't take much to actually pop all your mana back, because with like a little bit of AoE, your leech is kind of insane. We do have an instant instant leech node just to help top it up. But you see it's still running. We're at 43 stacks now, and it just ran out. So there's a little downtime. You can still clear when it's down, so it's not the end of the world if it drops off. But it's just one of those things that feels a bit nicer to actually run. I've gone in circles here. It's hard to actually speak and do the map at the same time. So, as you can see, also it's pretty cozy while mapping. It's not too much that actually will like really hit you that hard. This is like with a damage mod and pale T17, and I don't know, I felt pretty cozy so far. Anyway, where is this boss? So for a boss, I would probably swap this out to the Rage Tincture, just because the unique one is purely a clear one. And then when it comes to bosses, we just drop the banner and just hit him. Make sure you turn your tincture on as well. As you can see, I'm barely doing mechanics. I might spontaneously explode, although I probably should, because I'm getting a slow. Like I said, this is a bit Z DPS when it comes to actual bossing. There's probably better builds to do it on. But with my single target tincture, I need to remember to turn that on constantly. You can see how much I just do not care about mechanics though on this build, which is probably my favourite part of it. Even if it is nice with the amount of ward we have, our max hits, like, not the max hit, but the hit that we can take before it breaks is actually quite high. We have the equivalent of about 7k HP. And a boss isn't going to break it quick enough and then attack again to make you really care about that. Anyway, getting to the end of it. Remember to turn on my tincture. We are ramping. If we had the ramping node, we would have got good value out of it. Probably because I'm not dodging mechanics. And there it is. Pretty comfy because I wasn't focusing on playing the game, I was trying to talk, so I felt pretty good on that. Anyway, that's my build for the Steelmage build showcase. This is the Wield Gladiator, and yeah, catch you later.